Retirement is not about fading into the background unless you let it become that. Hi, I'm Julianne Price with Life Edit and Design, and today we're talking about staying relevant in retirement and the steps that you need to take. This is something you actually have to work on. You have to be proactive and not let the world pass you by and all of a sudden you feel out of touch. Have you met some senior citizen and felt like, oh, they don't even know how to use the basic AI? That would be the thing that's coming up and coming right now. And how many people are out there that are retired that are actively pursuing, how do I use AI? Well, the world passed them by because they didn't stay relevant. And when I'm talking about relevant, I don't just mean tech, but that's just the example that comes to mind the quickest. But you don't want that to happen. As you move into this next beautiful act, you need to stay connected. You need to stay relevant so that you can continue to grow. Moving into retirement isn't the end, the finish line in that I never need to learn anything new. This is an opportunity to say I need to keep learning, but I get to choose what I'm going to learn. This is like stepping into a university of your design. So as we were moving through college, we didn't get the chance to design our own curriculum, where now it's becoming almost a normal thing. But you have crossed the finish line, but now it's time for you to develop a curriculum for how you want to live and how you're going to stay connected. That is the most important thing. To live in isolation, to start to shrink your circle because you've lost connections to your friends and family, that maybe people have passed away, moved away, or all that the whole social structure of your work environment is gone, and you need to stay connected. So as you're moving into this phase of life, I really want you to be thinking about, who can I connect with that knows things that I don't know? Who's going to be an expert in a field that maybe I'm interested in, and I can start to build them into my network, start having those conversations. You have the opportunity now to go to a Starbucks at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday and have a conversation with somebody. And you'll be surprised who wants to have these conversations with you. Look at the other recently retired people in your community. They have so much knowledge that they're willing to share, and that you want to become a sponge for new things. How do you stay relevant is to be curious about your world, curious about the things that maybe you've never had time or the bandwidth to say, how does that work? Like, I love watching those documentaries on how stuff is made, how stuff works, because you assume, you take things for granted around you, and you don't realize, like, how did this come to be? And maybe as you start to learn about that, you'll start to find some new passions. But even something as simple as, how did this shirt get made? And then you start to learn about child labor and unfair practices across the country. Maybe that will give you a whole new passion and excitement, and something for you to become your purpose, to become a champion for. The other thing is, in addition to absorbing knowledge, is for you to give back some of that knowledge. And I don't mean the knowledge of how to do X, Y, and Z, but the knowledge that you have on how to navigate situations, how to mentor somebody with navigating an office environment, navigating political conversations, navigating tough relationship conversations. Think about all the things that you know from the school of hard knocks, the things that you've learned, the mistakes that you made, and how you were able to use them to your advantage, how you learned from them. There's a lot of people out there that could use your wisdom. So you might feel like some of your technology wisdom has gone away, is no longer relevant. Like, the way I used to do meeting planning is not the way that they need to do it today. Things have changed, things have shifted, the formats have changed. But the things that I know about how to think, how to strategize, how to plan, those skills are still relevant, and there are people that need them. So in addition to learning, you also need to connect to give back your knowledge. And as you mentor, you're taking in and learning so much from your mentee. They're obviously going to be somebody who's inexperienced and younger, but they're going to have a whole different viewpoint that will help you stay relevant, because you'll start to see, how do the up and coming generation think about work and family and purpose. And this keeps you connected. Now, without you having to experience what they've experienced, you get to learn what it's like to be a millennial, to be a Generation Z, to be any of these people that you aren't. Now you get a chance to experiment and see what life is like from their point of view. So staying relevant is about learning and about teaching. And then it's also about pushing yourself to grow. And it's so easy to take a step back and say, I'm just going to do crossword puzzles and jigsaw puzzles. For my parents, their whole world is just going to the casino. Oh, that's not challenging yourself to grow. Like, what is something you want to learn? Learn a language for the joy of learning a language, not because you have to go to some country for work, but because you think it's something you really want to know. And then as you're learning the language, learn about the culture and learn about how language drives their culture. Maybe start to learn how to read something in another language. These are things that can challenge you and excite you for the pure joy of doing it. But by staying relevant, you're starting to connect to another culture and how that culture thrives. And then maybe one day you'll want to travel there. Who knows? But you need to keep your mind active. And I always talk about keeping this vessel active. So staying relevant in retirement is what's out there. What are people doing these days with their body? So pickleball is all the latest craze. Go out there and try it. Now, I'm not saying you need to take on something dangerous, like you're not going to take on downhill skiing in your retirement. But what are the things that people are doing to stay relevant and connected? What are the trends that you can adopt that fit your lifestyle? And how you're going to meet people. Don't just try to meet only retirees. Look for a huge generation, all the generations, people that you can connect with, because staying relevant means diversity, means having rich relationships at all different levels. So again, when you're mentoring, you get to tap into some of those younger people. When you're learning, maybe you get to tap into some people that are older than you. Maybe you get to tap into people in different countries that you can learn from. It's that diversity. That's what makes life so rich as you move into the second act. And staying relevant means just expanding your circle. Before, your circle consisted of your coworkers, your family, and friends. That's a small circle. Now you get to expand it. So I'm not somebody who uses social media, but if you're somebody who loves it, start looking for that big, wide circle of people with very diverse tastes and knowledge that you can be motivated by and inspired by and learn from. That is where life gets really, really rich and juicy. So as you're moving to this retirement, I really want you to think about spice, variety, and staying relevant is getting out of that comfort zone that you might have had, that bubble, and saying, now I can go outside of my comfort zone and still feel safe. Like yes, you're putting yourself out there. Maybe you actually decide to take your list of fears and say, what am I going to tackle, like public speaking? Maybe you go to Toastmasters now as somebody who doesn't need to speak for a career or for your living, but just to go overcome the fear, just to be like, hey, this is cool. I want to try something. Do I want to end my days having all these fears, or do I want to say at the end of my day, at the end of my life, that, hey, I tackled these 5 biggest fears and I was able to overcome 3 of them? Wouldn't that be cool? What are you going to do? What's that zest? And then the last thing I'd offer is, what are you going to teach? Because you can create blogs. You have so much wisdom. So if you're not going to directly mentor somebody, can you teach through some other way? You can do videos like I'm doing. You can start to consult. You could start to just write if you have a passion for writing. There's so many avenues now to get your work out there for free. This isn't about money, right? Anymore. It's not about having that income. Hopefully your income needs are settled. Now this is about passion and staying relevant and getting comments from a public that can help you say, oh, this is what, there's a need here. I started to write about this, but I got a lot of comments about this, and there's a need, and I want to go off into this segment and start to help them. And oh, in order for me to serve that segment, I need to learn a little bit. Do you see how it just kind of keeps rolling? That's how you stay relevant. You have to keep yourself out there. You have to keep yourself connected to a community of some sort, because it'll just start to spin all these beautiful spin-offs that let you stay connected. If you start to build a shell and you start to feel isolated and you start to close in yourself, that's not how you're going to stay relevant. So being relevant is not about technology. It's about connection. It's about connection, giving and taking, being a part of this cycle of knowledge and purpose and contribution. It's so beautiful. So I hope that I've inspired you. I have an audit down below that you can take. It's an energy audit, but it talks about your archetypes, and that helps light up what are some of those interests. And as a coach, I help you step out of those comfort zones. What are some fears that maybe you're ready to dip your toe into? Or what are some of the ways that you want to give back to your community? Who do you want to be a mentor for? Who do you want to learn from? I can help you through all of those wonderful questions and make your retirement something that's just exciting and alive and vibrant and rich with that tapestry, that juiciness. So I hope that you'll give us a chance to work together. But if not, I hope that you're inspired and you have some great ideas for moving forward. So stay relevant, stay connected, and we'll see you next time.
I'm a second act coach helping successful women actually enjoy retirement, not just survive it. If you've recently stepped away from the career grind and found yourself thinking, is this it? You're in the right place. This channel is all about helping you reconnect with what lights you up, spend your time and money with intention, and feel alive again in this next chapter. We talk mindset shifts, identity reinvention, journaling, energy, and how to stop living on autopilot now that you finally have your time back. Retirement lifestyle, and on women over 50, retire living.